Welcome back everybody to another episode of Double A Entertainment. Continuing from my list on my top 10 favorite film directors of all time, today I will be discussing my top 10 favorite films from the ultimate maverick film director, Werner Herzog. To kick off this list, at number 10, Rescue Dawn. Starring Christian Bale, this Vietnam War film is unlike Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket or Coppola's Apocalypse Now and is purely Herzog. The film follows Bale's character, German-born Dieter Dangler, a pilot in the US Navy who was shot down in the middle of a Vietnamese jungle. While hiding out in the jungle, Dieter is captured by enemy militants and is ruthlessly tortured in various ways to get him to denounce his country. Refusing to do so, he is taken to a prisoner of war camp where he meets 5 other soldiers, each mentally deranged. On top of being shackled and beaten every day and night, the 5 men are subjected to torture, the harsh elements of nature, and are eventually fed maggots. Determined to get out of the jungle, Dieter conjures up a plan to find his way back to his home country. At number 9, Wojciech. In one of their many collaborations, Wojciech stars the beautifully insane Klaus Kinski as the title character in an adaptation of the play by Jörg Buchner, which centers around an impotent soldier who is being subjected to an experimental diet of nothing but peas. Aside from the brutal nature of the rifleman's career, he has a young child and a wife who is having an affair behind his back. Klaus Kinski delivers an amazing and controlled performance as Wojciech. Without the use of special sound or visual editing, you can easily notice the mental torture Kinski's character endures on a daily basis on behalf of the way he delivers his lines and even in the way he walks. It's a brilliant exploration of how one man is pushed to the limits by society. At number 8, The Enigma of Casparhauser. Based on the real-life events concerning a man of the same name, The Enigma of Casparhauser is a haunting, tragic, and brilliantly simple yet insightful film starring another frequent yet underrated Herzog collaborator, Bruno S. One day, in the year 1828, a mysterious stranger enters the town of Nuremberg. We are given absolutely no background information of the character whatsoever, except for the fact he spent his entire life locked in a sort of prison cell. The simple-minded Casparhauser is taken under the wing of the kind-hearted Professor Daumer, who does his best to assimilate him into normal and upper-class society. While many locals strive to educate the stranger, Casparhauser comically yet tragically reveals the many conundrums of everyday philosophies and mannerisms. This film is an ideal capsule of what makes every Herzog film great. At number 8, Streich. In my last video, I mentioned how Frenzy was Hitchcock's darkest and most depressing film. Well, here's Streich. Another film starring the brilliant Bruno S. David Lynch went on record calling this his favorite of Herzog's films. Streich takes place in modern-day or 1970s Germany. Our main character, Streich, is an alcoholic, recently released from prison, and lives with his elderly best friend as well as his prostitute girlfriend. The three live in extreme poverty and are faced with hunger and street violence every day until they decide to move to the US. In Herzog's take of Americana, which is sadly not too far from the truth, the three discover that with the change of scenery comes a new wave of social and economic problems. Without giving away any spoilers, this film ends with one of Herzog's most iconic scenes, in which the title character stops at a roadside amusement park and watches a chicken dance in a box before hopping onto a ski lift. I highly recommend you watch the YouTube video of Werner Herzog talking about chickens. At number 6, Cobra Verde. Klaus Kinski is reunited with Werner Herzog in their final collaboration. In Cobra Verde, Kinski is a paroled Brazilian bandit who was sent overseas to convince an African king to resume the slave trade. However, when things backfire and Kinski is captured, he escapes, returns to his fort, and trains a tribe of native women to fight and overthrow the king. At number 5, Feats Carrion. In what is largely considered one of the deadliest film productions in film history, Feats Carrion tells the story of a robber baron who insists on building an opera house in the middle of an Amazon jungle. How does he intend to accomplish such a feat? By hiring natives to drag a full-scale fucking steamship up a hill. Side note, being a stickler for keeping everything as real and natural as possible, Werner Herzog insisted on completing this task in real life, without the usage of any camera tricks or smaller scale models. I highly recommend you watch the documentary Burden of Dreams, which is a documentary about the production of said film. At number 4, Even dwarves started small. For this next entry, I have absolutely nothing to analyze or technical intricacies to point out, so I'm gonna get straight to the plot. A bunch of dwarves, confined in an institution on a remote island, rebel against the guards and director, and yeah, that's pretty much it, and honestly, that's a huge chunk of its charm. But most movies and screenwriters spend time trying to explain each and every motive for every action done by every single character. Herzog just throws you in the middle of the action and encourages you to get enveloped by it all. In Herzog's second feature film, we are treated with a bizarre premise and a screenplay that would much rather add to the film rather than to over-explain itself. At number 3, Grizzly Man. Due to recent events and advancements in technology, Grizzly Man is an in-depth look at the life and tragic death of environmental activist Timothy Treadwell. Treadwell is not only an avid animal rights activist, but he had a crippling soft spot for grizzly bears, to the point he would camp out for indefinite periods of time at the Katmai National Park in Alaska. Grizzly Man showcases video and audio recordings left by the bear enthusiast, and with the expert narrative and philosophical Werner Herzog, we are given a tasteful and respectful look into the mind of Timothy, as well as a comprehensive understanding of the enthusiast's soft-spoken and humane-loving nature. Watching this documentary is quite the experience, as we really get to know Timothy Treadwell, which only adds to the heartbreak, and Werner Herzog rigorously examines the tapes and audio recordings left by Treadwell to better understand his mental state. At number 2, Nosferatu. Unlike most filmmakers who would simply regurgitate a masterpiece solely so they can put the name on the property, Werner Herzog completely reimagined the world of Count Orlok and Dracula, completely turning it on its head. Some would find it a bit off that Werner Herzog would direct a supernatural thriller, but not only is this film very much a Herzog picture, it's absolutely breathtaking. Using his one-of-a-kind trademarks, Herzog sets up a nightmarish atmosphere, blurring the lines between the imagination and reality. Although when most filmmakers blend the two together, Herzog brings the Shadow Realm to real life through a literal transcendental journey to and from the Phantom Realm, which brings a dark plague to the more civilized areas of Europe. I would also like to shine a spotlight on the eerie opening credits, which was shot in central Mexico using real-life mummies. At number 1, Aguirre, the Wrath of God. In this visceral quest into madness, the mad Don Lope de Aguirre leads a group of Spanish explorers in the 16th century on a journey to the mythical El Dorado. Played by the even more insane Klaus Kinski, Aguirre cares only for the wealth and will literally cut down anybody that gets in his way. Aguirre is a brilliant look into a dark historical period just decades after the destruction of the Inca Empire, while we follow a party of status and wealth-driven explorers who gradually mentally deteriorate as they subject themselves to the uncompromising elements of nature with no way out. Thank you all so much for watching this, but before I head out, I'd like to ask you all for a favor. The New York Acting School for Film and Television greenlit a film project of mine that I've had for already a couple of years since I was out of high school, and as long as I raise the money, they'll let me use the equipment and they'll provide me with actors and actresses. The title of the film is called Lilith, and it will be my first large-scale short film, and a friend of mine helped me put up a GoFundMe. I'll put up the link down below. So right now the budget is set for $7,000. At first it was $7,500, so that's where the GoFundMe is set, but right now I think it's $7,000. And this will really mean a lot to me because as much as I love talking about movies, my main goal is to make movies. Thank you all for watching this, and let me know in the comments what your favorite Werner Herzog film is.